Hi, everybody, and a warm welcome to the IMUNE live chat and lecture by Professor Desire Dubounet. We've got lots in store for you today. Very exciting. We're going to discuss nutrition, energy, life force, vitality, and specific foods, and some beautiful smoothies to make. So this is a vibrant evening, absolutely vibrant. And then followed at 8 o'clock, we're going to be all the quantum therapists will be putting on our devices again and effecting a huge shift in humanity by raising immunity to COVID, and with a lightning strike, laser sharp beam to remove COVID. So that is our intention, and we all know about that. And we're going to be joined by everybody, the group of people, and more people, the other people on the planet too, who are shifting for this, the same purpose. So it's very exciting. Thank you for coming. It's always an honor to have everybody here, and even more of an honor to have Professor Desire Dubounet, Rita joining us, putting huge time aside to prepare for our lectures. And we'll hear some more about IMUNE after this, and I've got some beautiful Kirlian photographs to show you, and then we'll set off and do a 24-hour session for the humanity. So if Daisy is around, then we can call her in and for the introduction.
Here I am.
Hi, Daisy.
How's everybody there? Okay, so we want to talk about what we've been doing now. We can't get rid of COVID. Let's just get that as an idea. What we're trying to do is build immunity to it. Viruses like this come, and then gradually two things happen. A virus will then start to, the human being will start to develop some type of immunity. The planet Earth will start to develop some type of an immunity, and the virus will start to lose its virulence or lose its strength. We're going to see an increase in people getting the virus. That's not what we're trying to stop. We're trying to stop people from dying. And we're trying to get people that this is just going to be a bad flu. So we can't really stop the entire world from getting it because it's out there. In America, it's rampant because the president wouldn't do anything about it. So everything was rampant. But now, what we're going to do is we're going to run our machines. We put humanity's immunity to COVID as the patient. We're going to be calling for millions, probably billions of prayers a second to help to get humanity's immunity stimulated so that we can start to tolerate this virus. There are literally billions of viruses around the world, and back in 1918, the Spanish flu came out and crippled, Europe and etc., and spread all over the world and created a major plague. Now that same virus is there, but that human has developed immunity to it. And this is what we're trying to do now with the COVID. So we're going to run that. We run today's date. Once you get through, you can go through and do a test on it. Whatever comes up, let it come up. And I'm sure there's going to be some similarities. We could take the time to look at all that, but that's not so important. The big thing is just to get to some type of a therapy where we can start to do some therapy, some long-term therapies that will let our systems go into the prayer subspace mode and start sending billions, if not trillions, of prayers out into the cosmos to help us tolerate this virus. That's what we're trying to do. So I I'm looking at what's going on, and now we're in this political situation now. So Donald Trump came down with the virus. And of course, Donald Trump, there's a bunch of videos that somebody put onto YouTube saying that Donald Trump was interested in my technology. He actually, it was my technology, you know, they mentioned me. So it was very strange, you know. So anyway, one of the people from the Trump campaign contacted me, one of his associates, asked me to do something when he got in there. I ran him off in subspace. I do not agree with Donald Trump. I think that Donald Trump is a stooge for big oil. I think that he's a buffoon. I think he's a racist, a bigot. But it doesn't matter. He's a human being. And as a doctor, I'm dedicated to trying to help human beings when asked. So I put him on the subspace. I ran him. And lo and behold, about 24 hours later, he comes out and he's cured. He comes out and tells the world that he no longer has it. I don't know whether that's a political statement, whether it's a political game or not. But at any rate, he's campaigning and running around and acting like Superman. And I think that my subspace treatment helped. I hope that he would have some semblance of honor and respect and get them to drop the case against me in America, so I'd be able to get my American passport back. I hope that's possible. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. Who knows? That remains to be seen. But at any rate, strange world. Are you there, Jane?
I'm here, Desi.
Any questions from anybody?
Well, I've said this to people this week, Desi, and the fact of the matter is that we have the most beautiful quantum device, right? It's coming straight from source. It's not aligned with anything on the planet. So if we're wanting to do pure work, my understanding is we are completely and totally equipped to do it, because it's a non-biased, non-verbal situation where we're allowing the subconscious of humanity to feed into the world's largest software platform, a medical platform, let's face it, and do pure work. And that is my intention, because as you said a little bit earlier, it's very difficult to determine the truth, who's actually telling the truth, who isn't, and we don't actually want to waste energy trying to decipher that, I don't believe. So, you know, we're really honored to have you here on the planet with these devices, enabling us to do this kind of work. And thank you so much from all of us.
Well, thank you. You're welcome. But because the system is not designed with any bias. It's just designed with a God consciousness. Trying to help people and to dissipate these energies away from the patient, away from the therapist, and away from the developer. So that's what it does in subspace. At one level, there's other things that it does, but that's the major purpose of it. And here we have a new virus that's out there. Strange, because we're starting to see that there's less deaths. There's more infection. That's to be understood, that people are going to get it because it's out there. But there's less deaths of it, and there's less disabilitation. People are losing less time at work. They're not needing as many ventilators, you see. And I think that we are succeeding. You know, I think that we're helping here. And there's an election going on. So there's no way that Donald Trump wants to step forward and say that some transsexual helped him. He doesn't want to do that.
Oh, that's very funny.
And it's hard to tell what's going on in an election. I believe that the polls, these polls that they have, mean nothing. And also, I can tell you that there's so much money, that big oil has so much money that they could, buy somebody to fix and jimmy the machines, these electronic devices. So I don't know what to trust, what to not trust. You know, I do know that rampant greed is out there and everywhere. So we'll see what we can do. Anyway, on with the rest of the presentation for tonight. The first video that I prepared for you is a video about neg-entropy. Now, what entropy? You have a lot of noise from your microphone there, James. I think it's your microphone. Okay. Entropy is, according to the second law of thermodynamics, heat will transfer from a hot body to a cold body. So if you have a warm cup of coffee in the room, the coffee will transfer its heat to the room as the room gets a little bit warmer and the coffee gets a little cooler until there's more of an equity. Inside the coffee, inside the room, the molecules are in thermodynamic motion. They're randomly bouncing off each other like billiard balls. Okay. So the heat in the coffee, the little molecules are traveling faster. They have more kinetic energy. That's the heat. Okay. And they will transfer to the cold of the room. This is the law of thermodynamics. In a thermodynamic system, this is a law. Now, in the human body, there's something that prevents us from going to room temperature. The room temperature in your room might be, say, 20, 21, and your body temperature is 35. Well, how come you don't go to room temperature? Because there's a life force inside you. This life force that fights against the entropy. That the molecules of the air around you are in thermodynamic law. That means they're bouncing around. They're just bouncing off each other like billiard balls. Then all of a sudden you breathe in one of those oxygen molecules. That oxygen molecule crosses into your cells, and now it comes to an attention and it follows a different set of laws. The laws of life. And the laws of life are similar, not exactly, but they're similar to the laws of quantum. All of a sudden, the oxygen now obeys rules. Whereas in the room, it doesn't. It's just bouncing around. But all of a sudden, now that same oxygen inside your body is being transported and utilized, and it's like it has a rule, an order, an organization. It's not random. It's not diffusing. And this life force is against the entropy, and we call it neg-entropy, or non-thermodynamic, or we call it quantic. It's quantic-like in nature. Now, one of the great fathers of quantum biology, of quantum theory, is Erwin Schrödinger. You've all heard about Schrödinger's cat. The idea that he took a cat and put him into a box that had some uranium in it that could open or not. That in one state of being, until you open that box, that the cat could be dead and alive. Schrödinger's cat. Interesting concept. Schrödinger was one of the first fathers of quantum theory. And he saw these things, and he looked in and he saw that there was an organized principle. He wrote a book about this. You'll see in a minute. And he said there's an organized principle to biology, to life. Life has an organized principle. He said he called it neg-entropy. And then he made this astounding statement that this neg-entropy was nutrition. That you needed to intake this. That when the plant grows, the plant is in a state of neg-entropy, fighting against entropy, because it's an organization. The compounds inside the plant are being made in a certain way. And that when you eat that plant, you're getting some of that life force, that neg-entropy. This is why certain cultures, we like to eat live food. And this is why we talk about getting fresh and raw vegetables, you see, because they have this life energy. So it's very interesting. So he wrote about this, and this is a nutrient. Now, the chemical companies do not understand this at all. They think that oxygen is oxygen is oxygen. They think that carbon is carbon is carbon. They don't realize that the carbon and oxygen inside your body is in a different state of energy, that it is in a living state of quantic life force energy. The chemical companies can't understand this, and the chemical companies cannot reproduce this. So when they make their synthetic drugs, they do not have the life force in them. That lack of life force means that it's incompatible. Now, I wrote the book way back called The Promorpheus. Back in 1983, I published it at the Library of Congress in 1985. So, and I proved beyond a shadow of doubt that this life force energy, that the chemical companies do not know about it, and that a synthetic anything is an insult to the body. This was the first thing that my professor in medicine back in the days in Ohio when I went to medical school, Dr. Barnes, on the first day of pharmacology class, came in and said, it's a pharmacological law that a synthetic anything, a synthetic vitamin C, a synthetic B6, a synthetic B1, a synthetic thyroid hormone, a synthetic anything, something made synthetically, is an insult to the body, because the body knows that is not coming from a living system. Then he said, we're going to spend the rest of the semester learning how to insult the body, because all that the medical doctors are taught, it all revolves around what synthetic patent compound they're going to give you. You can't patent nature. So you can only patent a synthetic. If you want somebody to invest in your drug, you're going to tell him that it's leading up to a patent, so that the man who's investing in the drug, he tries to make sure that he's going to get his investment back. So he wants to see that what he's investing in is going to be protected. We do not protect recipes. We don't protect somebody who's made a recipe for a new soup, whatever. We only really protect patents. And in order to get a patent, you have to prove that your compound's never existed before. It's just yours. You made it in your garage or whatever, and it's never existed before. It is yours. Thereby, cannot be of nature. So, these compounds, these unnatural compounds, this is what medicine is revolved around. And I wrote the book about that. And that's what set off this whole procedure of me being hated by the drug companies, hated by the FDA, which is the junkyard dog of the drug companies. They took away my passport years ago. I'm still being persecuted and prosecuted. This is what we need to hear, and I'm going to show you something, a movie now about neg-entropy, about the force, the life force, and I hope that you enjoy it. I'll take your questions afterwards. Are you ready, Jay?
Yes, I'm ready, everybody.
How can we increase our mastery of the force? Through nutrition. What nutrition do we use to increase the force? Aaron Schrodinger wrote a very, very important paper in biology where he found that the organism needs to feed on negative entropy. But what is entropy? You see, according to the second law of thermodynamics, heat must pass from the hot object to the cold object. The hot coffee cup will go to room temperature. As entropy means that there's kind of a diffusion of energy to a balance point. If we take hot water, cold water, here we have some ink. As we apply the ink, we see that it diffuses in an entropic fashion, kind of a random fashion, without true quantum control. And in the hot water, the diffusion is a little faster. So what we can see now is that entropy requires no maintenance. It just happens. It's the second law of thermodynamics. Whereas neg-entropy requires a quantum biofeedback system. What is neg-entropy? Well, basically, life proceeds because there is an organized principle of a set of laws that seem to be a quantic-like laws that mean that life will fight against diffusion, against the second law of thermodynamics. In a living system, there's a quantic life force and a quantic life force working against entropy. This life force stops thermal decay, and the organism can remain at a different temperature than the room. This life force stops thermodynamic decay and gives an organized structure that allows life to exist. Because life exists because of a controlling of the atoms, the molecules, that they proceed in an orderly fashion to do things and accomplish life's goal. But if there is death, when a cell organism dies, it loses this fight against room temperature, and diffusion sets in. As we see here, the membrane has broken because this cell has died. And now there's diffusion. It goes back to the second law of thermodynamics. And the cell, the organism, loses its fight against room temperature. And then it becomes food for other organisms. Because there's a life energy. And while that life energy is there, other life will try to feed on that negative entropy. Because as Schrodinger said, there's a negative entropy. It's a device that the organism uses to maintain itself in an orderly fashion, to be able to fight against the sucking of a thermodynamic environment. So, without doubt, organisms should feed on negative entropy. We need foods that have that negative entropy. And the number one place, we're going to find it in plants, because plants have that negative entropy. Plants are growing objects. And way back in the beginning of recorded history, we started to see people writing the Bible way back in Babylon. And they were writing the Bible, and they had a communication with God. They opened their spirit and had God consciousness coming in to guide them and inspire them. This is the belief of who wrote the Bible by the hand of God. And he told us that seeds, fruits, shall be our food. That these things which have the most amount of neg-entropy would be the best foods for us. And that way back in the Bible, back in Babylon, when the Israelites were taken captive, Nebuchadnezzar hired Daniel. And Daniel's men refused to eat meat because they knew that it didn't have the proper life force. They were inspired from God, and they used biblical food. They used a type of pulse, a type of bread that was made from different types of germinated grains. And one day Nebuchadnezzar challenged him and said, "My men eat lion, they eat meat, they're strong." And Daniel said no, his men ate pulse. And they went out into the field and challenged each other. And Daniel's men were much stronger, eating the pulse, eating the germinated seed bread, the germinated seeds, the sprouts. They had much more strength than the lion-eating men of Nebuchadnezzar. And God guided the men to write into the Bible this and other things. And basically, he was then able to tell us that the fruit will be the food and the seeds and the leaves for healing. The power of that life force to grow the controlled atomic molecular structure inside the plant, taking in the rays of the sun and the minerals of the earth, and making us the perfect blend of food. And we found that in the sprouts, there's a high amount of energy. And here we have broccoli sprouts, which contain 100 times more cancer-fighting agents than the actual broccoli. And here we see the sprouts, it's this life force. There's an enzyme inhibitor inside the seed and just a little bit of water, and it washes away the enzyme inhibitor and allows the sprout to happen. This is what Daniel had, and sprouted bread that they used. And here we have broccoli sprouts, a very, very fine food that helps us in 1,000 ways and will give us energy, negative entropy energy, to fight against entropy, to fight against disease, decay, and aging, and to make us sharp and better for sports. That we see the beauty and the expansiveness of the plants that have that fiber and have that energy from the sun, that were made the perfect food, as our people from the Bible told us. And now we can get live spirulina, different types of algae. These things are living beings that have that negative energy, that neg-entropy, as well as yogurt. Yogurt also contains it. Here we have fruits, and fresh fruits and vegetables contain that negative entropy that gives us life.
Animal cells are encased only in easily digestible membranes, which allow the enzymes in our gut to effortlessly liberate the calories within a steak, for example. On the other hand, plant cells have cell walls that are made out of fiber, which acts as an indigestible physical barrier, so many of the calories remain trapped. Processed plant foods, fruit juice, sugar, refined grains, even whole grains, if they've been powdered into flour, have had their cellular structure destroyed, their cell walls cracked open, and their calories are free for the taking. But if you eat structurally intact plant foods, chew all you want, you're still going to end up with calories completely encapsulated by fiber, which then blunts the glycemic impact, delivers sustenance to your friendly flora, activates what's called the ileal brake, which dials down your appetite, and, frankly, dumps trapped calories out the other end.
Plant fiber is extremely needed for our bowel flora to be able to make all the different chemicals that we need for life, all the different hormones. We need to have plants.
Those eating more plant-based appear to effectively be burning more calories in their sleep. The resting metabolic rate of those eating more plant-based may be 10% higher or more, a boost of metabolism that can translate into burning off hundreds of extra calories a day more without doing a thing.
And you see these plants, especially fresh plants, even sometimes cooked plants, but they have the different factors needed for life, and they have a life force. The synthetic chemicals do not have that. It is a pharmacological fact that a synthetic anything is an insult to the body. In order to get a patent, you must prove that your compound is not of nature. If it has a patent, it means it's unnatural. To get a patent, you must prove that it is not of nature. You made it. It never existed before. Then they can get you a patent. And when we look at the synthetic chemical companies, and we compare the natural versus synthetic, that the natural is superior. Most importantly, it has an energy factor, an energy given to it from that life force that the chemical companies do not understand. So we must avoid synthetic foods, the patented foods, avoid the high glycemic foods, the processed foods, the white sugars, foods boiled in oil, nitrates, in order to sharpen and get our energy, to increase the force, the prana, the chi, to follow the Tao and the Dharma, and to have the best control over our lives. Here's natural vitamin C on the left crystallized, and synthetic vitamin C. The natural vitamin C has energy. It plays with the light. It has the electrons that are energy. The synthetic does not. There's no life force here. We have to understand that the 0-calorie sugars, these sweeteners, they have no life force. They destroy the life force in your bowel bacteria, and they make disease. There's no life force in these synthetic patents. There's a problem here. This is sugar and life force free. Disease in a bottle. Organisms need to feed on negative entropy. They need to feed on the living quality of life. This is very important. In order to build your own force, to be able to build your own life, mental health, wealth, mental health, success, get off of all the get onto natural negative entropy plants.
These zero-calorie sweeteners, these synthetic chemicals, these sweetener chemicals, they do not supply energy, they supply sweet flavor. And they are the worst. They just really destroy bowel bacteria. They upset the process of making the happiness hormones, all the other different hormones that you need for stress reduction and motivation and all this. And they're really creating a problem and creating an overall trend of mental disease. So in the places where we see them, it's just incredible. Their most prevalent use is in America. You look at America now, and you're going to see it's just crazy over there. It's just crazy what's going on in America. Any questions?
Not yet, Desi.
Give that video link to everybody.
I will.
Let them pass that video on. And this whole thing about the neg-entropy and the quantic structure, the energy of the life force, this is something that the chemical companies and their control over the medical schools and their control over the journals, they don't want this discussed. They don't want anybody to discuss these things. So you're not going to see this too many places. But this is extremely important, but the whole basis of this idea is that basically all medical doctors practicing traditional modern medicine are not doing the right thing for their patients. Because what they do is they take for, what's the best pill to give, what type of drug should be given. It's a shame.
So we need to eat food that is in the quantum spin, natural as nature intended, with the DNA intact, the intelligence of the plant intact, and then the body knows what to do with it automatically. And we end up in a situation where we have more energy than when we started, as opposed to having 3 days old food where you end up in a situation where you have less energy than when you started.
Exactly. So now there is life force in animals, but the more we cook it, the more we lose that life force. So it's very interesting that people said that the real explosion of intellect that happened with cooking, that we look back and we see that the human being was climbing trees and eating, and was basically very, very backwards. If we look back at the beginnings of the human race, and all of a sudden there was an explosion of intellect where cooking was invented, the control of fire. And then all of a sudden the human being just started taking off. Well, people thought that was because of the cooking of meat, where the real truth is, if we look at the societies that still, if we go into the places of Africa, down there where there still are, people who are still hunting like that, those people don't really live on meat. They go out and they hunt. The hunt is only successful less than 10% of the time. And oftentimes the hunters will eat that meat before they even bring it back, you see. What was the explosion of cooking? The explosion that happened with cooking was that all of a sudden they could cook tubers like potatoes and different types of carrots, different types of root products, cassava, and many others. This is what all of a sudden they could because when you cook these foods, like rice and etc., you free open some of the calories and you free open some of the carbohydrates that will now be better used. So when they started to cook, they found that they could cook potatoes. And when I say potatoes, I don't mean just white potatoes. Sweet potatoes, all those different types of tubers, all those different types of things, the onions even. When they cooked them, they got better quality. You can't really eat raw rice. You have to cook it, okay? So, and then it frees open and it opens up and you start to be able to get the nutrition. And that's what cooking did. So cooking also, because of its effect on vegetables, those different types of vegetables that need to be cooked. So that's where cooking, and all of a sudden then the human being, the brains took off. I think meat might have a little bit to do with that, but I do believe it's very little. When we look at the teeth and we look at the diets and we look at it's called coprolite analysis. That means we analyze the shit from the ancient people. And we look at them, and what they were eating was vegetarian. Very, 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 very much vegetables is what they were eating. Now, when they came away from Africa, as they went further and further north into Europe, then all of a sudden they were met with winter. And winter meant that there was a long time that they had to do without plants. You see, they didn't get plants. Well, then this was a time where they had the great big woolly mammoth, that type of hairy elephant. And if you killed a woolly mammoth, the village had enough meat to live on for a long time. You know, one woolly mammoth. So then we started to see much more meat eating, okay? And along with that came the start of degenerative disease. I'm not against meat eating, but you just have to recognize, number one, nobody can live on 100% meat. You just can't do it. You will not have a healthy life on 100% meat. You can have a very, very healthy life on 100% vegetables. That's absolutely no. You'll be vegans are shown to be smarter, in a lot of different ways, and they have more sex, they have more vitality, etc. You cannot live on a complete carnivore diet. You can mix in meat. I mix in meat. I have fish and almost on a daily basis. I'll have some shrimp and etc. on a daily basis, but it's about less than 10% of my diet is animal protein. And our real needs for protein are really the amino acids. And the best place to get your amino acids is in sprouts. So I believe that we just now need to recognize that we need to eat less meat, more vegetables, more sprouts, and we need to get the life force. Questions? Nope. Let's look at the next video then.
Desi, what you said a bit earlier, this is absolutely fascinating. You talked about, we've had 3 sessions on oxygen and breathing and bringing the oxygen molecule to the cell membrane, allowing it via osmosis to cross over. And today you mentioned again that in order for the quantum, the laws of quantum and the laws of life, we need that oxygen molecule inside the cell. So, I mean, we can't really stress enough the importance of breathing.
Yes, oxygen. People can live, there are breatharians. We taught about that. Remember that? We did that course on breatharians. There are people who can eat, people who can live on sunshine and breath, you see. But you can't live without breath. There's nobody who can live without breathing. You know, human beings have to have oxygen. Oxygen is life. Every biological process will depend somewhat on oxygen. So we have to have oxygen in order to live. We got to learn about breathing. And we have to learn about nutrition. Now, very, very, very few people will have the, and you have to be extremely spiritual to live on breath. The people who are breatharians have to make sure that they get no exposure to negative thoughts and etc. They have to have lives of contemplative prayer and God awareness in order to be a breatharian. I don't think that most people can do that. Especially children cannot do that. But there have been adults. The Roman Catholic Church has hundreds of people who were shown to be able to live without food for long periods of time. The Buddhists have thousands and thousands, and the Hindu have even more. You know, people who can do it. That's not remarkable to them. That's almost every day to the Buddhist and the Hindu that people can do this. But Hell's Angels don't have any. Hell's Angels has beer areas, not breath areas. So, so I believe that our people and our patients and our therapists, etc., we need to learn how to get more sprouts into the diet, get more vegetables into the diet, eat fresh meat. Rita's here.
Hi, Rita. Welcome.
So we're going to watch the next video?
Yes. There is one question. Elizabeth, we may have answered it already, but she says, what can we not eat with body inflammation and arthritis?
Oh, that's, okay, if you have arthritis, basically the nightshade family is going to be a problem. Which is the nightshade family is the tomato, the potato, the pepper. They're going to be harmful. If you have arthritis, you want to start getting lots of pineapple in your diet. And the key of helping you to fight arthritis is that the middle of the pineapple, you know, the center that most people throw away because it doesn't have the same flavor, that is the highest amount of the bromelain enzyme to help fight inflammation. You should be eating the center of the pineapple mostly, but get plenty of enzymes, get some protease enzyme in the stomach, and then stay away from the nightshade family and other things like that. There's actually a big science to it. I've written a book on that, and I will try to find that one while you're. I'll try to find the link to that book while we show the next video.
Perfect. Are you ready for me to play it?
Yep, I'm ready. Flowing through us, the force, crying, let down. Dark chi. Energy flows through us as we walk through the path of life. Understand more. Here we see a chi master demonstrating forces of healing and electricity. It's been measured. And we find that inside the nerves, inside all the cells of the body, there are microtubules that have a quantic state. A quantic state that can interact with things of the outside world in small ways.
Pro football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it.
In basketball, we talk about the shooter's role.
The power that the shooter has to get a role, to affect things in small ways, but yet to affect things.
Microtubules in one brain cell can affect microtubules in another. But that's not all. Quantum theory claims that every single point in space, even empty space, can contain information. This means the information in the microtubules can connect and become entangled with the universe outside the brain.
You see, we call it luck, but is it that the winner has the ability to influence a small bit, control the curveball, make things happen?
In there for strike 3.
Winners do this.
Whoa, what was that? Whoa.
Inches we need are everywhere around us. Hell yeah. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second.
Through force of mind, through force of will, the winners have a way of creating luck. They say it's better to be lucky than to be good. You see, the winners can influence things with a little bit of extra push from the mind. Small different distances to create the effect.
And I know if I'm gonna have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that itch. Because that's what living is.
The powers of the positive mind are talked about so much in sports. The ability to influence, create luck. Winners have this, losers don't.
Qi, internal energy, the essence of life. It moves inside of us, flows through our bodies, give us power from within.
We can understand now how the quantic microtubules can influence this qi, this energy, this force, and influence the Tao, the Dharma.
I get it. Like the Force in Star Wars. You're Yoda and I'm like a Jedi.
The effect that we have can be small and subtle. So we have to understand and train as we see that there is truly the ability to affect electrical forces.
From here and my negative from here, and we meet together, this can get like electricity.
And is this because you're special? You have a special sort of
it's meditation every day.
It's meditation that does it.
Meditation every day. Like you can touch me, like this. It's nothing, okay? It's my burn. It's just like this.
For our sound recordist, it was also a shocker.
The Dharma is the passage through life, the things that happen. We can't control it completely, but we can affect it. We can have certain small effect to it. We can understand that the prana, the energy, can be affected and be increased. And it can be best understood through the Star Wars idea of the Force. Let the Force be with you. And we learn to influence the Tao.
He then took our newspaper outside and showed us how qi can also be used to set things on fire.
With proper exercises, proper training, we can learn to control and accentuate our microtubule quantic effect, and take charge and take hold of the force, the Tao, the Dharma. And we can train ourselves, even at a young age, to be more aware and to let that superhuman ability transcend and control the force.
Yeah, so certain athletes really do have the ability to put a little control on that ball. You see some super athletes, we say, okay, they're lucky. No, they actually, the whole idea of this force that was in Star Wars, and of course in Star Wars, they're picking up rocks and they're picking up space stations with their mind. But there is a force. There is the ability of the mind to interact with the outside of the outside environment in subtle ways. and that it can work this way. So, and athletes with certain times have that ability. And they can train it. I made a video about how to train the force. Let's see, I could probably download that video for people to watch while we're talking here. I just try to find that video. More questions? Any questions?
So Daisy, what you're saying is that the more life force we bring in, the more prana, the more we can tap into super consciousness, superhuman abilities.
Well, but also as you get life force, you have to exercise with it. You have to be able to practice. And I have a whole series of exercises, for that. I will try to find it now.
That's amazing.
You see in the movie, Star Wars, how he's practicing to learn the Force. Well, that's basically all true. You have some wind or something next to your microphone? Sounds like you're in a wind tunnel.
I'm not in a wind tunnel, but there's a huge storm here.
Ah, you got a storm going on.
Thank heavens, because it's been so dry. But Daisy, this is really amazing. I mean, every week we say this, but it just escalates. What you're teaching us, it's incredible. I don't know. You guys comment. Let's hear what you're thinking. Or are you sitting there in stunned silence? Because this is information that you're not going to get on any other course. That's for absolute certain. Not in this way. Not delivered in this space. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And music to our ears, really.
Well, this is basically. And like I showed you in the one video, as they were writing the Bible and God was, communicating, to these people writing the Bible, that's what we're taught, that the force of God, you guys got to be quieter. They can hear all this. Yeah. So, but, they were writing the Bible and the force of God was giving them, and they were telling them these things about, you got to get seeds and fruit, leaves in the field. Let's see here we go.
And I'm thinking even now, with the chaos in the world, I think it's incredibly important for us to get seeds and start planting them, and beans and those kind of things. Really start getting these things into the ground and start feeding yourself with intelligent food. If you hold the seed and if you put it in your mouth, it's actually reads off your deficiencies and your excesses, and it will grow as food for you. We need to be very smart about this right now, and take responsibility for what goes into our mouths.
Yep, it's about the life force. We have to learn to appreciate it. We have to learn to appreciate the life force.
And to make sprouts is the easiest thing on the planet. You get a jar, you can be plastic, glass, doesn't matter. Get a jar, you get a couple of seeds, you put a little piece of material or a little piece of cloth over the top with an elastic band. You soak the seeds for 24 hours, but you rinse twice in that 24-hour period, and then you rinse twice a day. Then you rinse again twice a day. And in a warm climate, in a warm house, within literally 2-3 days, you have sprouts already. The root will come out first, and then you get the leaf coming.
Yeah,
and
the seed has seeds will last virtually forever. The energy is trapped, and there's a enzyme inhibitor that stops the seed from growing. when they opened up King Tutankhamun's tomb, right after I think it was like 3,000 or 4,000 years, his breakfast, which was seeds, his breakfast was set in front of them, and the seeds were still there. And they put a little water on those seeds, and those seeds grew. So these seeds, they have an enzyme inhibitor. A little touch of water wipes away this enzyme inhibitor, and then the thing starts to sprout. So this is why Daniel, in the book of the Bible, he had that pulse bread. Well, pulse bread was made from sprouted grain. They would take the grain, the seeds, they would put a little bit of water on it, just as it just starts to germinate. Then they dry that out, and then they made bread from that. So eating too many seeds without germinating them, you get enzyme inhibitors in them. So we want to be able to recognize that. But I know a long, long time ago, I got to tell you two stories. When I was an alternate in the 1968 Olympics, and they invited us when I was there, and they invited us to a place. And here they had the Oriental teams had invited us to come. And they had this great big fish. And it was about, maybe 6 foot long. And you came along and you put a little fish on your plate. And then I walked up and I came to the head of the fish. And the head of the fish was alive. His eyes and his mouth. And I yelled, "The fish is alive." And the man came over and said, "Oh, no, we like living food." So they broke the neck of the fish, and we're actually eating from the live fish. So another time, I was lecturing in Taiwan, and I had about 300 doctors in the room. It was a really big audience. And at the end of the night, they invited us all to dinner, and 100 of the doctors came to dinner, and we were all eating. And then at the end of the night came on. It was down to about 45 people. And the owner of the restaurant came by, and he said to me, "There's one food that no American has ever eaten. We have one food that we, the Chinese, we eat regularly, but no American's ever eaten this food." He said, "Would I eat it?" And I said, "Well, what is it?" He said, "I won't tell you." And I said, "I'll tell you what. If the other 45 people here, if they all eat this food, I will eat that food." Okay. He brought it out. He brought out a bowl of live baby mice. Oh my God. Tiny little mice. They had no hair. They're little pink things. Oh my God. I looked, and each of the people, they grabbed the baby mouse, threw it in their mouth. So it came my turn, and I looked at everybody. It was my turn. I said, "Okay." So I took a live baby mouse, put it in my mouth. I made sure I chewed him. In Thailand, I was served once live frog hearts. They took the heart from the frog, and for about 15, 20 minutes, that frog heart will sit on your plate and boom, 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 boom. Because they believe in a living type of food. They believe in that life force. I don't think we need to go that far. But we do need to recognize that the more we torture the life force with X-ray heat, especially boiling in oil, when we boil food in oil, just the effect of the oil is bad, but also other things happen that just dramatically kill any life force or enzymes or vitamins, boiling food in oil. So certain things we need to know. Okay, as we're getting people to eat more and more vegetables, I got one more video that we're going to watch. Okay? And we'll talk about this when we get back. Are we ready?
Hey guys, Dr. Berg here. I wanted to create a video for those individuals who do not like vegetables. And I am that person. I never did. I still don't. But I eat a lot of vegetables. Okay? But let's talk about it. Why don't people like vegetables? First of all, it's time consuming. You have to prepare it. You have to cut the vegetables. It's a pain in the butt. And then they don't really taste that great. They don't give you a lot of pleasure. Lots of chewing. If I didn't have to get healthy, and health wasn't a problem, and I could eat anything I want, I'd probably live on potato chips, popcorn, pizza, salty foods. I'm a salt person, right? I wouldn't have any vegetables. Well, what happened is that I got in trouble when I was in my 20s because I did not consume the amount of vegetables that I needed. So really, the main thing that we need from vegetables is the nutrients, the raw enzymes, the vitamins, the minerals. That's why we need to consume them. Now, if you have any chance of restoring liver damage or even losing weight, you're going to have to change your mind about vegetables and consume a lot. You cannot successfully long-term lose weight and get healthy without vegetables. It's impossible. Like eating a little bit of cooked this or powdered this, or it's not going to cut it. You're going to have to eat vegetables. And I'm sorry, but corn is not what I'm talking about. Or peas, you're not going to get the amount of vegetables. You need actually at least half of these vegetables raw. Okay? So I understand there's certain things that bloat people, and that's fine. We can steam them, but we need some raw. So you have to find something that you consume that doesn't bloat you. So there's a couple points I want to make about this. Number one, I do get pleasure from eating vegetables, but an hour after I eat them, or sometimes even a day after I eat them. The days that I don't eat vegetables, I feel more sluggish, heavier, and bloated, like I eat too much protein. And the days that I eat it, I just feel lighter. I just feel the difference. I can perceive the difference. So personally, I do it because I've been convinced so many times that it just makes me feel better, and it's actually doing good, that I stick with it. So you have to just change your viewpoint on this and just kind of start eating more for health and not everything for pleasure all the time, right? Now, there's a couple things that you can do to make it easy on yourself, especially for the time like you don't have time to prepare. And I like to blend my vegetables. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little quick recipe that you could just basically take a blender, stick them in there, stick a couple other things in there to make it taste good, blend it, boom. Take it to work with you, drink it up, and that way you don't have to always have a sit down and eat the salad and chew the whole thing. All right? So let's go to my house and I'll show you how to make it. Hey guys, we're at my house and this is what we're going to do. We're going to just basically take a blender, fill it up half with water. This is our kale. Look at how much kale this is. This is pretty much at least about 7 to 8 cups. So it's going to be hard to eat this, but it's easy to drink it. And I freeze it. I'm just going to put it in here. And it's easy if you freeze it, it lasts a long time. If you don't, it can go bad pretty quickly. So I'm going to blend just the kale in the water first, okay? So let me show you something. Okay, so basically it's blended. Now, if you're not trying to lose weight, or if you're a child, you could easily just put fruit in here, put a banana, put berries. But if you're trying to lose weight, you can put some berries too, but I do find that that might slow down weight loss for some people that have stubborn metabolism. So there's a couple options. You can take berry sweetened stevia and put a couple drops in there. My wife likes chocolate, but this is what I'm doing lately and it seems to work really good. The instant kale shake berry. I like this. My wife likes the chocolate. But simply what we're going to do is just, after we blended it, we're going to take a scoop of berry and stick it in there. And this is no sugar, but it's sweet, and it has kale in it. It's instant kale shake. So I put 1 scoop. I'm just going to mix it. For a second, and I'm done. So now this kale shake is pretty sweet, and it's kale, and I'll wait for the foam to come down. but it tastes like it has berries in it, and there's no berries in it. So it's a great low sugar drink. Now you can drink your salad. You can bring this to work, drink it when you get home from work, and it's just an easier way to avoid eating a huge amount of salad. It's a quick way to drink your salad, and I use the kale. My wife likes the chocolate one. You can check that out. And yeah, so that's just a little tip to be able to consume more vegetables.
Okay. Basically, a couple of tips. Light cooking really takes vegetables and brings them to life. I'll take a rather bland salad that's cold, and I'll throw it in the microwave. And I'm not big on microwaves, but just for about 20 seconds, and it just gives a warmth to it, and all of a sudden the flavor is released. You see, that's what cooking did. It released some flavors. But light cooking, stir fry. You don't want it. The more you smell the vegetables, you're smelling nutrients that are being thrown away. You want to very lightly, but as you warm them up, it will improve. If you make soup with a slow cooker, set at around 100 degrees Fahrenheit, just a little bit over body temperature, and basically you're going to get a really good quality soup by the end of the day. You see, and you're not cooking away the nutrients. So light cooking is something I have found to make vegetables. And the other thing is spice. Spice. Used to be spice was our money around the world. The very first form of money was salt. And then other different spices. And this was the rare, and people would die and go to war because of spice. And now we take this all for granted, but this is where an awful lot of energy, an awful lot of natural goodness is. And a little bit of spice, and learning how to blend these spices into your food, bring your food to life. So, because there are no excitogens in most vegetables. That kale that he talked about, that's a very, very highly nutritious vegetable. Extremely extreme nutrition. But yet there's no excitogens, you see. There's nothing in there that excites your flavor. You see, like we get with a hot dog or a pizza. There's lots of different excitogens in there. So we can get excitogens by blending in a little bit of spice. Or a touch of curry, doesn't have to be, spicy hot, but there's all different types of spices. And if you learn about spices and different blending of them and how to use cinnamon and blending different things, you're going to find how to bring these foods to life. There's I've written some books about this, and I have some videos about what type of spices to use. And if you want to write to me, I can give you more information. So I'm about done for today. We have a little party going on. Good. We're getting ready for over here. Any last questions?
Daisy, what I want to share, very exciting, is I want to share some Kirlian photography. And we can look at cooked food versus raw food. We can look at organic food versus commercially grown food. Can I pop the slides on quickly?
Sure.
Okay, super. Just have a look here. I just entitled it "Eating for Energy," and what I wanted to share with you is this is Kirlian photography, and you can see here the cooked broccoli versus the raw broccoli.
The more you cook it, the more life force you're running away.
Yeah.
But light cooking can just
yes.
Like just a little bit. You see, in the stir fry, you throw that wok and you throw the things in, you just swish them back and forth. You warm the vegetables. You don't really cook them. You just warm them. And then a touch of oil. If you cook the oil and boil it, it becomes a toxin poison. But these vegetable oils, these cold processed vegetable oils, are very healthy. And if you put them on top, they're great flavor. If you take your potatoes and instead of frying them, if you bake them, cut them into French fries. Sweet potatoes are best, but take your potatoes, cut them into French fry sized pieces, and bake them. Then when you're done, as they're cooling and they come down in temperature a little bit, then just apply a little touch of olive oil or avocado oil or sunflower oil, and then a little touch of oil and a little bit of paprika and a touch of salt, sea salt, of course, or Himalayan salt, which is always better. And oh my God, it's better than French fries. And you're getting health. You're not, getting that boiled in oil. The oil is bad when you boil it. The oil naturally is good. So I find that, and it shows some more sweat.
Sure. I mean, that is the steamed one, which is great. And then this is cooked tomato versus a raw tomato. And you can see, wow, this is amazing.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're cooking life force.
And then here we've got organic domestic mushrooms versus commercially grown domestic mushrooms. And you can see the effect of pesticides, chemicals.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Takes the life force away, and then we eat this, and then our body's got to restore the quantum spin in the food, and it takes our energy to do that. Whereas if you eat food in the raw organic state, it's going to feed us. It's going to raise our quantum energy, our vibration.
Absolutely.
And here's an interesting one as well. We've got raw cacao over there, and we've got a French fry over there. We don't have to say anything about that. And here we've got some also beautiful ones where they've used Kirlian, but they're looking at the Armstrong energy of foods. And there's got apples and oranges and star fruit and the raw cacao again. So, it's not really, excusable anymore for any of us, because we know about oxygen, we know about water, hydration, we know about the charge of the cell, we know about the charge of the body, we know about the oil with the potential across the cell membrane, and the importance of getting oxygen in, the importance of getting electrons in, the importance of raising our vibration. And this is conclusive now in terms of everything that we are saying.
Yep.
And
when I get patients all the time, and I say that they need to get vegetables. Oh, if I eat vegetables, then it bothers me. I'm allergic to vegetables. No, you're not allergic. Your digestive system is so weak. And when you have a weak muscle, you have to work it. So let's just start by getting you sprouts. Sprouts are so easy to absorb. Get a sprout salad. Then you're going to have no problem. Nobody's going to have, I can't digest sprouts. Of course, the sprouts are already there. Then move on, add a little bit of radish and a little bit of this, and then cook it lightly. You see, amend it, and get a little spice to get that flavor. We got to get our people to eat better. Okay, I'm going to have to sign off.
Okay, wait a sec. Let me just finish here. I think there's one or two more.
Okay.
And this is that GVC machine, which actually measures the QUEX. It measures the effect of the QUEX. So that's before. This is before meditation and after meditation. But I've seen this as well, measured with that device, before and after with our QUEX devices.
I have a study where we showed before and after the STIO with this.
That's right. Please give us that study, Desi, because we need it for research. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a big study that's before and after, and how the STIO enhances that.
So we want the question I'm asking everybody here is, how does your energy field look? So that's the question we're going to have to all answer. We want to have the best energy field, so that we can.
I'll let you talk to the people, then I have to go.
All right, Desi, I'm finished there. So what we want to do is, and I can talk in between, but I want to start the quantum therapists off with you here, which is right now. And what everybody will be doing is typing in as the patient, humanity's immunity to COVID.
Today's date.
That's all.
Go on to a therapy, whatever therapy you're on.
And then nothing in the SOC. You then load the patient, because we can't use 2 weeks ago because the date's already changed. And then you type in new patient, you press new patient, and then you type in there.
You can use the old date. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, well, whatever. Or you type in today's, and then there's no protocol here. We want you to go in and literally raise humanity's immunity.
Yep.
All right. So, thank you, Desi. Ciao, ciao. Have a good evening. So, if everybody's with me on that, we're going to be typing that in, and we're going to be starting. And I'm ready on my device too. And then I'm not going to be able to do a 5-day thing again. And I'm open to questions as well. But I think it would be lovely to have feedback, where you can just show me before and after VAR Hope improvement feedback. Let's just keep it simple on that level. If you've got more data, perfect. But there's a lot of us now working together, and we at the end of tomorrow, we can talk on the WhatsApp group if you like, or I'll set up a quick webinar, and we can just see what we've done. So what I'd like us to do now is get onto our devices. Is everybody with us? Is everybody typed in humanity's immunity to COVID, either using last time's data or date or today's date if you knew, and then you go straight into the program. If there's a biorhythm, you can click on it, or you go do calibration and you go and do the risk factors, and you will follow your intuition, follow the quantum space. Okay, is everybody with me on all that? So get your devices going. Mine's going, and so I've opened into the quantum field. And what I'm going to do while we're on here, I'm not going to close straight away. If anybody is battling or wants to know something or found something amazing, jot it down. I'm just going to make sure also that you got all the links, okay, for the videos. And today's been amazing. I think the gifts are showering upon us. So let's do our bit as quantum therapists. That's what I really do believe. Because as I was saying to Desi, and we don't want to say we should have, we could have, we didn't, why didn't we? We have the tool right now. And we're going to do it again on Tuesday, by the way. So Desi will come in briefly at the IMUNE live chat talk, and we'll do Tuesday as well. So I think to keep the momentum up, because I saw what happened in 1 week, the VAR Hope readings dropped. So if we do it twice a week, potentiate our effects, we're going to have a great time. And then please, if you don't have a device, you're not left out at all. You're part of this, because we need the quantum universal connection from everybody working together here. We don't want deaths. Okay, that's the most important thing. We want to raise the immunity. And if we can share these videos and show people how to eat properly, okay, the breathe properly, the spirulinas, the sprouts, the kefir, the sauerkrauts, the flaxseed oils, cacao, filled with life force. In fact, last week when I ran this one for immunity, raw cacao was the #1 food. And you all saw the Kirlian photography of that. So we need to eat energy to get energy. Almost gold, all the superfoods and the super herbs, astragalus, powder, arco, cat's claw. There's many, many, many. Schizandra berry, many, many medicinal mushrooms. You know, not forgetting the seeds and things like that. So let's spread that word out. It's going to raise humanity's immunity at the same time. And yeah, just shift what people put in their shopping basket. I think that's great. So I'm here, I'm right here, and I'm going to, we'll record it afterwards and I'll post it everywhere. And I'm just going to be watching. So if you want anything to say to me, I see a lot of you already on and running. Okay, perfect. If you want, jot down what you see, that's great as well. Okay, so I'm effectively